Relationships also describe our artist this week, Winston Churchill.
Winston Churchill exemplified all those qualities and was a prolific painter, creating hundreds of works over his lifetime. And he also had a deep understanding and appreciation for the value of art in society.
Absolutely. You know, the value of art in society, you know, is one of the key reasons we continue the Art Talks. And you know, it's also why Art Talks are so popular with all of you. So now let's head over to Sarah and Art Talk number 137.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, so we are continuing with Winston Churchill and looking at some of his art today. We actually talked about him in a previous Art Talk in 2020. We looked at some of his art and Chartwell, which is his country home. So today we're going to be looking at some of his different pieces. So Winston Churchill was a British statesman that served as the British Prime Minister during World War II. As an amateur painter, Churchill produced many light-filled depictions of landscapes all over the world. His painting technique can be attributed for his admiration of Edouard Manet, Claude Monet, and Paul Cézanne. Painting a picture is like fighting a battle, and trying to paint a picture is, I suppose, like trying to fight a battle, he once said. It is, if anything, more exciting than fighting it successfully, but the principle is the same. Born on November 30th, 1874 in Woodstock, United Kingdom, he joined the British Army as a young man and saw action while acting as a war correspondent in British India, the Anglo-Sudan War, and the Second Boer War. After returning to England, he spent the years leading to World War I in the British government before again joining the military. And though he spent much of the 1930s out of political office, he was alarmed by the threat of Nazi Germany, and he was eager to replace the sitting Prime Minister, Neville Chamberlain. He went on to oversee the Allied victory over Hitler's regime and continued as acting Prime Minister after the end of the conflict. He notably had his portrait painted by British artist Graham Sutherland in 1954 to commemorate his 80th birthday. But Churchill famously hated this portrait, and his wife actually destroyed it after his death on January 24th, 1965. So this piece is called Daybreak in Cassis, and we can see here the influence of his idols with the Impressionist style. We have the small blended brushstrokes of blues and greens that make the water glisten and move, while the whites and yellows in the painting highlight the glow of the morning sun. It's a simple landscape, while at the same time being a really good example of how color and texture can create more specificity and detail. Again, here are two great side-by-side examples of color and texture creating uniqueness. We have a sunset and a storm, and how two different weather patterns and times of day can drastically affect the palettes and moods of the paintings. What I also find interesting is that sunset over the sea, so much of it is water, yet Churchill omits any hues of blues and uses oranges and some gray as compared to Daybreak in Cassis. Here are some more defined, but still impressionistic paintings of interior scenes. And as I previously mentioned, Chartwell was his country home in Kent, England, where he spent most of his time when he wasn't in political office. On the right is a more moody piece of the Long Gallery Room at Sutton Place, which is a Tudor manor house in Surrey, England, that dates back to 1525. And was built by Sir Richard Weston, a courtier of King Henry VIII. These two pieces highlight some of his shadow work. Breckles Hall was a Tudor country house built in the 15th century in Norfolk. And these two images kind of mirror each other with the arches in the ceiling. But again, it's nice to see the contrast, one being inside, one being outside. And as well, the tones of each picture are much different. The interior at Breckles, the wood tones give this kind of yellow warmth to the painting, while the cement in Shady Cloister offers more of a cool toned piece. Again, here are some of his landscapes of the water. These two being in Saint-Jean-Cap-Ferrat in the French Riviera. And this town is slightly lesser known than, say, Cannes or Saint-Tropez, but Saint-Jean-Cap-Ferrat boasts beautiful scenery with a more laid-back atmosphere, as shown in these two pieces. Here's some paintings with people in them. On the left shows the youngest of his 5 children, Mary, as she gives her first speech. And Mary went on to be an author and was also very involved in public organizations like the Red Cross and the Women's Voluntary Service. And I really love this painting on the right. I just want to be transported there. It shows Randolph Churchill reading. Randolph was the only son of the Churchills and went on to be a member of the British Parliament. In 1935, Churchill's year began by failing to gain a government position, so he decided to take a trip to North Africa, namely Morocco, and did lots of painting while he was there. He also took many photographs, which are still at the archives in Chartwell. Churchill claimed to have painted only one picture while serving as British Prime Minister during the Second World War. I'm sure he was obviously very busy. This is Tower of the Kutubia Mosque, a view of Marrakesh and the Atlas Mountains, painted from the balcony of the Villa Taylor while on an excursion with President Franklin Roosevelt during the Casablanca Conference in January 1943. He actually later gave this painting to Roosevelt as a memento of their time together. It was sold by Roosevelt's son, Elliot, in 1950, and went on to be purchased privately by Angelina Jolie in 2011, and subsequently sold at Christie's in 2021 for over £8 million, which is just under $9.5 million. This slide is dedicated to Dick Esom. He has a set of stamps in his collection that celebrate Churchill as an artist. After much research, he identified that they were issued by South Arabia in the Kathiri state of Sayan, which is now modern-day Yemen. And these stamps are part of Dick's 1966 Churchill Death Anniversary collection. And as well, here's a photo that Dick took in Madeira, Spain, where Churchill used to paint. There was an exhibit of his work that toured around North America in 1958 and was also shown at the Royal Academy in 1959. Churchill painted over 500 landscapes of subjects such as his goldfish pond at Chartwell to marina landscapes and buildings of Marrakesh. He sold some of his works, but he also gave away many of the works as gifts. So thank you, everyone, and I will see you next week.
Thank you, Sarah. That was incredible. I love Churchill. And, you know, Churchill believed that the best art was not necessarily the most complex or ornate, but rather the art that expressed deep emotions and ideas in a clear and straightforward manner.
Overall, Winston Churchill believed that art was an essential part of a well-rounded life, and that it had the power to uplift, inspire, and unite people from all walks of life.